Okay, can everyone please be quiet? Thank you. So we'd like to welcome the mayoral candidates. So each of them will have 2 minutes to speak about themselves, their name, continue on just like the evening has with a few questions, and then a recap of the evening. So the first one up.
Good evening. My name is Crystal Chop. I come to you tonight as not as a career politician, not as somebody that has sat around the same council table for 35 years making the same decisions over and over again, but as somebody who has experienced the cumbersome bureaucracy of Norfolk County firsthand. I grew up on a farm in Binbrook, not far away, and since moving to Norfolk County, it has become blazingly apparent to me that drastic changes needed at all levels and in all areas of our local government. What I can offer you is a unique background that few others can offer you. I have an ability to look at problems and solutions from multiple angles, and it's obvious to me, and I suspect obvious to most of you, that Norfolk County lacks the big picture, they lack vision, they lack a clear and cohesive strategy, they lack leadership, and they certainly lack accountability. I want to see a planning environment in Norfolk County that actually supports small business and respects the rights of private property owners. Sure, we need to have rules to live in an organized society, but rules should not be so cumbersome that they impede growth and forward movement. We should be focused on building bridges and not staff rosters. I want to see a council and staff that continue to respect the identity of the various townships and villages and address their concerns. For many of you here this evening, the Causeway Bridge, Hastings Drive, Long Point Tourism, holding tank pump out charges, and so on. But I also want our citizens and our councillors to respect that we are all in this together, and Norfolk will be its best when we work together. I want to change the culture of staff so that they work for us and with us to make Norfolk something we can all be proud of and have pride in, a great place to build a life and a business. Change starts with a positive attitude, and it should not be an adversarial process from the moment you walk in the front door. The sign should read, "How can we help you?"
Good evening. I'm Russell Colbert, candidate for council.
Speak up.
Oh. Thanks to the Chamber of Commerce for the invitation to come tonight. I moved here from Chatham, Ontario in 1975. Got a job driving cab in Simcoe. And for the last 43 years, I've been plying that trade here until this past April when I hung my keys up. I live in the former village of Renton with my longtime companion, Linda. We have 3 children between us, 1 son, 2 daughters, and 5 grandchildren. I'm a member of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Unit 255, Simcoe, past executive, past sergeant at arms. In 2006 and 2014, I ran for a council seat in Ward 5 to no avail. My mantra is the same now as it was then. I'm an ordinary man with the same concerns as all the ordinary people. I believe all people deserve to be treated with compassion and respect. For seniors on fixed incomes, those on assistance, and the working poor, we need empathy from council. I certainly understand their plight because I'm one of them. People like us just don't matter when council makes decisions, yet we are the first to be impacted by them. I'm running for mayor to assure all people get equal representation from council. My years of taxi driving have given me a unique insight into the minds of many, the silent majority. And who are they? They're the 58% that didn't vote last time. I entered the race early to act as a doorstop to make sure Charlie didn't get in by acclamation. I'm here to provide an alternative to the status quo. The issues facing us won't be solved by one man. It will require a common sense approach and all of council working as a team for the good of all. Time for a new team to succeed the old. A 38-year politician or a 43-year cab driver. Choice is yours. Thank you.
Many thanks to the Chamber for hosting tonight, and thanks everyone for coming this evening. I'm Charlie Luke. My lovely wife Diane is here. I have 3 lovely daughters and 8 grandchildren. Well, I've been the mayor now for 4 years, and I'm about to find out if it's been as good for you as it's been for me. Ward 1 is certainly, definitely on the radar, folks. In 2019 alone, next year alone, we're budgeting the following: $10.4 million estimate for a causeway, bridge, and road reconstruction. That will be the biggest construction project in the history of this county, ever. $3.9 million in the budget for Highway 24 resurfacing. $2.5 million is in the budget next year for a new St. William's Fire Hall station, and there's $45,000 that's in the budget for 3 separate improvements to the Port Rowan Waterfront Park upgrades. And currently we've just finished architectural drawings for a new facade on the Port Rowan Community Center. I support all of these expenditures, but of course that is subject to council approval. But right now, Ward 1 alone is looking at $14 million in capital projects and upgrades for next year. This county is booming. Whatever you hear, take my word, this county is booming. Last year alone, the building permit value set a record of $142 million in this county. Last year alone, farming permit value rose 68% over 2013, and commercial and industrial rose as tripled. I can tell you the majority of the developers are happy. We've added in the last year 2 planners, 2 to the engineering department, and a new county solicitor to keep up to the volume. That's keeping investment here, folks, in this county and not having to contract things out. This growth is continuing to our tax revenue, but we need also to stay focused on the spending, and that, of course, is the balance, if you know. Right now, Norfolk County enjoys the lowest taxes of 28 similar comparators in southwestern and southeastern Ontario. We are the lowest. Thank you.
Well, you sure had some dandy questions for those counselors. I've got a question here for these candidates for the office of mayor. And you know what? That tea break didn't make them any kinder. You folks came with questions, and you're looking for answers. Let me see if I can get through this. This list got a lot bigger. I'm getting a lot older.
Well, then hurry up.
Touche! Get that man's address. Why? I've got a why question here. Why have the utilities like Union Gas and fiber optics and water and street lights, underground hydro, with the cost of roads and bridge along the causeway all being redone, and why does it not make sense to at least put in a conduit? What can you do about this?
I think it does make sense to put in a conduit. I believe there is significant provincial and federal funding available for that program, and I believe that Norfolk in the last 4 years has failed to achieve some of that funding. So that would be my first step. I think that we need to start lobbying the government in these programs where we failed to do so in the past.
Not what you want to hear, but I don't know.
That's a good, honest answer. By conduit, I assume they mean internet conduit. Conduit, I mean there's electrical conduit. I'm going to go on the assumption that it's high-speed internet. That's the way Chris did great. Well, I'll tell you something, folks. The county is doing something. First of all, I think everyone is aware here, we're not in the satellite TV business. We're not in Bell business. So we're really not in the internet business. That's what the private sector provides. But the county did get involved 4 years ago. It's a program called the SWIFT. And it's 15 southwestern municipalities. It's a creation of the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, of which I've been a member the last 4 years. And we have collectively put together a program. It's on its way. The province and the feds have are contributing, have signed for $180 million. We have contributed $60-70 million over 5 years with a 12 to 1 dollar payback. Last Thursday at noon, Jeff Hogan, the CEO of SWIFT, was in our council chambers. And I questioned him. We keep hearing it's coming, and it's called SWIFT. Come on. Well, the good news is the construction in the ground has already started. We will be fed from the west end of the province, Windsor, north of the 401 to the western region will be fed in from the Toronto area. We believe that we are not in competition with other municipalities. We need to work in partnership. So my question to Jeff is, well, when are the good folks in Norfolk going to see some high-speed fiber? The goal is, by 2021, to have high-speed internet fiber to every resident, no matter which concession you are in this county. And we'll do that with the assistance of the local providers once we get the big cable that will come through, right through Norfolk County on its way to Niagara Falls. So the answer is they expect to be this side of Chatham-Kent starting in the spring, and we can expect it in Norfolk between the spring of 2019 and the fall of 2020. That's the best answer I can give to you as of last Thursday. Thank you.
This one's going to start with you, Russell. You sure? All right, now. I like to know the answer to this myself. Ladies and gentlemen, how would you attract new business to Norfolk to help lower our taxes?
I think the biggest thing to help attract new business is to get the scissors out for the red tape. We should be in business of facilitating growth and investment. Instead, staff seem to come up with creative ways to stifle growth. You know, we're basically scaring people away. Word of mouth travels fast, especially on the internet these days. You know, you can't keep going like that. Just pooling a new council together, work together for a change rather than just fighting each other. We're all in this together, so let's get to work together.
I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that this has been one of the most difficult challenges for a rural, small-town atmosphere county. Not just in southern Ontario, but I would say most of North America. I mean, look what happened in the 1970s to us with local plants closing. And a lot of people say, oh, it's free trade, free trade. Yeah, that had a part of it. You know what the big kicker was? Automation. a lot of good paying jobs in factories was eliminated through automation. So we have to change the way we do things. Norfolk County is a great place to live. I mean, we're growing every year in population. We are moving ahead. We are attracting people, and I will admit, many of them are retired. It's a lifestyle, you know. They say, as I tell people, the county smells good for the most part. It smells pretty good. It's a good place. By smell, I mean the atmosphere. For the most part, it's pretty good. So how do we get the industry is the question. Well, we sure have to have that high-speed internet in place, don't we? We're not going to get a 400 series highway. We could not get MTO when council asked them to give us 4 lanes out of Simcoe north to Brantford, to the 403. So we have to work with what we have. We are Ontario's garden, the most diverse agriculture area in Canada. Not Ontario, Canada. Our farmers can grow anything. So, look at the jobs. Many of them are seasonal, but look at what is coming out of the agriculture industry. 9, 10, 11 wineries now. 4 breweries, more coming. Agriculture, industry. That's a big part of what we are. I would say that as mayor, I will continue as I have to be the ambassador for this county. I go out there to many different conferences, to meetings outside of this county, and I promote this county. Thank you.
Red tape in Canada is costing us $11 billion a year. The federal government and the provincial government have all recognized this as being a problem. It's nothing new. It's unfortunate that our municipal government here in Norfolk County fails to realize that this is a significant problem that is occurring here. As any of you know that have seen the article on my building in Port Dover, this is a particular passion of mine. I shudder to think what fraction of that $11 billion is currently being wasted or here in Norfolk County. The goal needs to be to attack red tape directly. It's essential. We need to create an atmosphere that people feel that they are being helped when they walk into our county offices. Right now, from my own experience, I can tell you it is an adversarial process from day one. We need to create an advisory panel that reviews our bylaws, that makes it easier for people to come here. And I guess my final point on this that I just want to comment, Charlie touched on this in his opening, on his flyer. We've come a long way since 2014 when building permit values were assessed at $88 million. In 2017, we topped $142 million. My problem with that statement is part of the issue of why we're discouraging investment in Norfolk County is building permits and applications and planning amendments are not the way to generate revenue for Norfolk County. Increasing our tax dollars is the way to generate revenue. So when you hold up a project for 2 years, for 3 years, people need to start thinking about the dollar value of the taxes that were lost in that 2 and 3 year process while they've gone through excessive regulatory burdens here.
I almost forgot about you, Crystal. Sorry about
That's
that.
okay. What's that? You forgot about me?
I almost forgot.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm sure you wouldn't have, that's for sure. This question now, and it's going to probably start with you, Charlie. I don't know whether they got it in for you or what. But they've not only got a question, but they've got a few suggestions. If the municipality, with funding from the feds and the province, proceeds with a hub, well, Simcoe will probably be the chosen place. There will be a surplus of ice surface and no improvement in service for the residents of Ward 1. And the question is, what might you propose in order to provide improved social and recreational opportunities for us rural folk.
Well, very definitely my opinion on a recreation hub or whatever multi-purpose center is that without the federal 40% and the provincial 33%, how are we gonna afford a 40, 30 million, maybe even 50 million complex and put it on the levy of the residents of Norfolk County? I don't think so. I'm one vote. That's not gonna happen. I also think it's important that we pursue a project whereby we may be able to pay for it with 73% of upper tier funding. Yes, the chosen site by this council after their public meetings is the former town of Simcoe. And
We're not gonna pay for it.
is the former town of Simcoe was the site that was chosen by this current council. There has been $5.4 million in the capital budget for the last 10 years earmarked for upgrade to the Simcoe Recreation Center at the fairgrounds. This is not something that we pulled out of a hat last year. This has been planned for years and years and years. Somebody said to me, well, my house is older than 45 years. Shouldn't the pool last 100 years? Does hundreds of people come in my house every day, and does chlorine come into my house every day and other chemicals? I mean, public buildings, just like schools, they don't last forever. So, I respect very much the people that live in the far end of the west end of the county. I respect where they're coming from. If I lived there and some kind of a complex was going to be built half an hour away, I get it. No argument for me. I know where you're coming from. I get it. I think it's worth pursuing. We have to eventually replace the swimming pool, the senior center. And if anybody wants to know why the senior center needs to be replaced, come with me. We'll go to the basement of the Pond Street Senior Center. Thank you.
The hub is a challenging one, and I don't think that we can I don't think that discussing the hub and the issues of a lack of a facility in Ward 1 can be looked at simultaneously, and for this reason. The hub, in its simplest terms, is a replacement of 4 facilities in Simcoe. Staff estimate, to my knowledge, has been $12 million to repair, with Band-Aid repairs, those facilities in Simcoe. This isn't an option. They must be repaired if they stay. So, if we are going to spend that money, $12 million, that must be spent, and if there is federal, again, if there is federal and provincial funding that is available to create a new recreational center, then an economic case is justified to create the hub. Again, that is an if. People have taken issue, again, with the location of the hub. You often hear everything goes to Simcoe. I sympathize with that also. I do. I live in Port Dover. However, again, it's based on an economic case that says if we're going to spend $12 million on this facility, and if we can get the province and the provincial government to contribute another 30, now we have a business case for replacing those aging facilities. So I think it's unfortunate. I agree with Charlie. We can't, address the issue of rural facilities here in Ward 1 at the same time as discussing the hub issue. The cascading benefits from the hub are substantial. We aren't reinventing the wheel, and we only need to look to neighboring counties, which is what we need to do in a number of areas, not even neighboring, far-reaching, to see the benefits that they have derived from similar complexes that have been created.
Where does the money come from in the province?
It's a fund that's been created
It
specifically.
comes out of the taxpayers. You make it look like
Actually, all the questions have to be put.
I don't give a shit.
Don, if the province puts out the money and we don't get it, the other municipalities get it. I mean, it is our money, you're right.
I do support the helping principle, as long as the linchpin of it is a new senior center. As to money for out here, I don't know at this time. Sorry, I don't have the answers for you. My opponents are more learned, but I'm in the race anyway. Thank you.
We're all different sizes here, so sometimes it's a little bit of a problem. So if we needed to move the mic, don't hesitate to tell us what to do. And I know you want to do that real bad, don't you? Now this is a very, very practical item here that somebody's written down. They want to know, how can you, that's the three of you, how can you abolish unnecessary bylaws which affect land use? Russell, you get to go first.
Without a doubt, we have way too many bylaws, period. First thing a new council should do is go through the whole heap of books, yank some pages out and shred them. That's how we'll do it. Thank you.
This will sound a little bit like I'm passing the buck. I don't think most people realize, I certainly didn't before I got on council, how much of how local councils operated is dictated by the province of Ontario. We cannot, outside of our budget that we set every year by the end of January, we cannot spend a dime without a bylaw passing that expenditure. So bylaws are a necessary requirement of municipalities in order to operate under the Act. When we talk about planning and red tape and all that, you know, your official plan is your umbrella. It is the vision of where we want the council to go. And you know, some people that stand up here and say, we don't have any vision. We don't have any vision. Read the official plan. That tells you how we want our county to grow, and it's reviewed every 5 to 10 years and updated. And under that is the zoning bylaw, one's in 2014. And the Planning Act of Ontario clearly dictates the process by which municipalities, we're always looking for efficiencies. Yes, believe me, I am tired of red tape. But we are not going to break the laws under which we have. That's why we have a clerk. That's why we pay, the clerk is the watchdog of council. Tells you when you're breaking procedure, what you can do and you can't do. So we're always looking for efficiencies. They're hard to find these days, and as you know, it doesn't matter a lot of things what you go in and you want from governments. There's red tape and red tape and red tape, and there's forms to fill out and forms to fill out. It is a totally different world right now than when I was a kid. Thank you. Done. Thank you.
Good. Maybe there is a rule out there that I'm not aware of, as Charlie just mentioned, but if there is, I will certainly find it. I find that difficult to believe because the Ontario government had a program called the Red Tape Reduction Plan, and the Red Tape Reduction Plan meant that for every new regulation that was created, we were to get rid of an old one. Charlie also says that we can't have expenditure, well, the rule again, that we can't have expenditures without the creation of a bylaw. I'm wondering maybe that's now why we have so many bylaws with a $5.6 million deficit in 2017. I think that we should complete an immediate review of all bylaws that negatively affect business and property owners, and generally speaking across the board. We need to tap into local knowledge in order to be able to do that. I believe somebody sitting, even counselors, they aren't aware of all of the issues. So committees of locals that are being affected by these bylaws need to be created so that these issues are brought forward and the bylaws are appropriately reduced.
Have you started one of these questions yet, Charlie?
Just number 3, and we're on number 5. You're in charge. I'll go first, second, or third, whatever you like.
Have you started one, Charlie?
I have started number 3.
You started number 3. Yeah, we got mixed up on which question we were at. This is question 5.
If you want to be on number 5, great. Yeah, please.
Yeah, no, we missed Crystal.
Yeah, I think you're up first here, Crystal. Okay? All right. This is a serious one. This is typed up here. It's a question that actually got posed for the council candidates too. So, as mayor now, they say we all know that many born and bred Norfolk County younger folks go away to pursue an education, but do not return for lack of employment opportunities. What are your plans to combat this issue?
I think we're talking about the same thing over and over here at this point. We need to create an environment that is more business friendly. We need to create reasons for our young people to stay. The hub, as we discussed, is one of those reasons. People that are coming here, professionals, are looking for better facilities for their kids to use. And I know the proposal is in Simcoe. Again, please consider that is, economically justified to put it there. Again, I don't know what else to say on this other than we need to create an environment that is business friendly and things for our young people to do.
I agree with most of what Crystal said. It all boils down to the red tape thing. If you don't have good, decent jobs here, people aren't going to come back here. Why should they? So, we got to do the best we can. And once again, I'll say it. The new council has to work together. Enough of the fighting. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, yes, we do have to work together, and we really have to make sure that we keep continually upgrading our infrastructure. I think it's any secret how many new water treatment plants have been built in the last 5-6 years with Port Rowan and on to Delhi. Waterford now is under construction, and many upgrades to Simcoe. Port Dover, new water tower being looked at in Port Dover. These are the things that will attract new industry. And, it's hard to land a new industry, but the mayor's job in council and the economic development, and even you folks, is to encourage. And wherever you go, talk up this county. Talk up that it is a good place to do business. We do have tremendous skilled labor here in this county. You have to work with what you have to expand, and you also have to welcome new. West Steel Industries is a perfect example on the east side of Simcoe that's moved in the former Ranger product. I've been up there probably 6 times to stay on top of those folks, and they're looking at expansion. Look at the expansion within. Talk to Frank and Marjorie Voth in Cortland. I was at the official opening. They could not rave enough in their comments about how welcoming this county was, how great the planning department was, and the building department. Talk to them, don't take my word. Titan Trailers. Incredible people and what they're doing in this county with an expansion. Toyo Tetsu has finished its 4th completed expansion in 10 years in this county. They are now, or very close to being, the largest employer in Norfolk County, ahead of the county, with over 900. In 10 years, they've gone from 300 employees to 900. So you have to continue to be ambassadors and work for this. American, they will put their second, double, if you've been out to see their building and you haven't, get out to the end of the 8th in the county line, and they're going to have by February the second building. Folks, there's things happening in this county. Thank you.
I'm going to do two things. First off, if any one of you candidates would care to take another 2 minutes to just express what you may have skipped or missed or want to add to you have to say.
Yeah.
All right.
This isn't our closing?
Yes, this is your
This is
closing.
your closing.
Well, I think I'm second.
Why don't I give his speech to you? By God, the taxes will go down like you wouldn't believe.
Charlie, it's your turn to start,
Charlie?
Charlie.
Oh, now it's Charlie. Okay. Well, in closing, I want to say that I think the mayor's job has two main components to it. First, of course, it's always the big picture. Mayor and the council have to govern. They have to ensure that the county is moving ahead is fiscally solid and meets the needs of the people. And then, of course, there's a second part, and that is the mayor must be an advocate for the people. He or she needs to listen and respond, to get to know the communities, to ensure that we make decisions that work for the residents, for the communities, and the county as a whole. And I'll tell you, this is a fantastic community here to get to know. When station number 10 firefighters called me, and their station they felt was in jeopardy, I met with them over at the station, and I assured them that I would support them as long as they're willing to do firefighting here in St. Williams. Peter Stoker, some of you know him. I attended the meetings for the establishment of the St. Williams Neighborhood Watch. I met with Port Dover residents with break and enter concerns to see what could be done there as well. You've seen me each year at Bayfest. You've seen me at the Houghton Fair. And I just love those noon luncheons at the Walsingham Women's Institute. Oh. So I would definitely like to thank at this moment the residents of Long Point in particular for their assistance during the 6 weeks it took to get the bridge operations back to normal on the causeway. It was May 15th this year, I remember it well. And the Long Point Ratepayers Association, the sewage and water haulers, the businesses of Long Point, marine operators, residents, and the county staff all worked together with patience and professionalism to make the best of a terrible, terrible situation. For the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity of meeting many Ward 1 residents. We've talked about everything, you name it, flooding, policing. That's what I do. And I'd like to keep doing it. I have the experience, I have the energy, the commitment, and I have the desire. I want to continue to work with you folks to make our county better. With your support and your vote on October 22nd, I know we can continue to make Norfolk even better. Thank you.
All right, in closing, I thought about a poem, but I came up with an analogy instead. The perception of Norfolk, as people talked to me in the cab the last few years that I drove. The county is like a ship, adrift in a sea of uncertainty and despair. The good ship's captain and crew are too focused on damage control to see the rocky shoals that surround us. Drifting aimlessly, a course determined only by the prevailing winds of the day. No one manning the helm, no firm hand on the wheel. The time has come, as with all good things, time for a new captain and crew with all hands on deck. Time to plot a new course into the future. A stark choice is at hand. Go with the status quo, 4 more years, just like the last 4. The experienced professionals have got it to this point. Or try the unconventional. Go with a common sense approach and an ordinary man. On election day, dare to be different, vote for Russell Colbert. Thank you.
Norfolk needs change, and the current council is not capable of change because that would mean admitting they are wrong. I want to leave you with these thoughts. Under our current mayor, Norfolk County ran more than a $5 million operating deficit in 2017. The 2018 budget was approved at $84 million. In 2017, we spent $85. I have one question for you. How does one run the business cheaper when costs keep going up? The often talked about Meisner Dam was a campaign promise of my opponent. To my knowledge, $1 million was earmarked for its repair, and yet $700,000 was spent on consultants. This seems illogical to me, and I speak of this issue at this moment primarily to illustrate a broader point, because it's one of the many examples of overspending here in Norfolk, despite the excessive number of county staff. In my view, consultants are more often than not overrated, overpaid, and overused. $350,000 emergency repair to the causeway, though necessary, also could have and should have been avoided. But I digress. More to the point is council, to my knowledge, is not provided with a regular budget variance report like any other council that shows planned costs against actual costs by department. Worse than that, they have never demanded one. Under this model, how can anyone ever be held accountable? 4 more years of this, and I fear it will be too late. The citizens of Norfolk County deserve a balanced budget that assures financial health and not just the delivering of campaign promises at the cost of our future. Norfolk should not be all things to some people. We need a mayor and councilors that question the information that is put before them. It's called due diligence, and that due diligence should be done in a public setting. It's time for accountability, it's time for transparency, it's time for action and results. My opponent represents the past, the same old, and look at where experience has gotten us. More ward against ward, more ombudsman investigations, and more control by senior staff. I'm not one of the good old boys, obviously. I represent change and a brighter future for Norfolk. Let's stop working against each other and let's grow Norfolk.
You folks have been great with your questions, just being here, and I think these candidates deserve a real hand for what they both do. I can tell you, it's going to be one of the better elections, period, that we've seen around here in a long, long time. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. It's really welcome.